First contact facade. The Galactic Concordats assessment team stood in Earth's orbital station, their expressions ranging from poorly concealed amusement to outright pity. Ambassador Lin Wei maintained her carefully crafted look of nervous anticipation as she presented humanity's most advanced starship, the HSV Endeavour. As you can see, honored representatives, she gestured to the vessel visible through the observation window. We've managed to achieve reliable fusion propulsion, though we're still working on understanding the principles behind your quantum drive technology. The ship was deliberately ungainly, its hull a patchwork of different materials and apparent repair jobs. The Concordat's chief technology assessor, a towering arthropodoid named Vector Prime, clicked his mandibles in what Lin recognized as barely suppressed laughter. Fascinating, he chittered. And these thermal radiators? They're necessary because you haven't mastered zero-point energy containment. Yes, exactly. Lin enthused with carefully measured eagerness. We're very interested in learning more about zero-point technology. Our attempts so far have been, well, she gestured to a scared section of the hull, evidence of a supposedly failed experiment. Deep beneath the lunar surface, in a facility that didn't officially exist, Admiral Sarah Chen watched the feed from the orbital station. Beside her, a zero-point reactor powered an entire city's worth of quantum computing cores, its efficiency rating so high it would have made Vector Prime's mandibles fall off in shock. They're buying it completely, her aide, Commander Jackson, noted. The Concordat really believes we're just fumbling our way into space. Chen nodded, her eyes fixed on the multiple holographic displays surrounding her command station. Each showed different aspects of humanity's true technological achievements: ships that could bend space itself, weapons that could harness the power of artificial singularities, defensive systems that made their best-shown technology look like stone tools in comparison. It's not their fault, she said. The Concordat has never encountered a species that deliberately chose to appear weak. Their entire civilization is built on displays of technological superiority. The idea that anyone would hide their achievements is alien to them. On another screen, she watched the progress of Project Eclipse, a fleet of ships being constructed in dimensional pocket spaces throughout the solar system. Ships that made the proudest vessels of the Concordat look like children's toys. Ships that no one would know existed until humanity decided it was time. "Ma'am," Jackson said quietly, "the latest intelligence reports are concerning. The anomalies at the edge of Concordat space." "I know," Chen interrupted. "Something's coming. Something the Concordat isn't prepared for. That's why we maintain this deception. Let them think we're harmless. Let them think we need their protection and guidance." Back in the orbital station, Lin was apologizing for Earth's primitive scanning technology, even as hidden quantum sensors mapped every detail of the Concordat ships, analyzing their capabilities and, more importantly, their limitations. "We hope that with time and your generous guidance," she said, bowing slightly, "humanity might one day contribute meaningfully to the Concordat's defense forces." Vector Prime's mandibles arranged themselves in what passed for a patronizing smile. Of course. Though I must say, it's refreshing to encounter a species so humble. Most races we encounter try to impress us with their achievements, even when those achievements are—" He paused, searching for a diplomatic word. "Modest." Lin ducked her head, playing perfectly to his expectations. "We know our place in the galaxy," honored Vector Prime. "We have much to learn." In her lunar command center, Chen allowed herself a small smile. Yes, humanity had much to learn. About the Concordat's weaknesses, about their blind spots, about all the ways their apparent superiority made them vulnerable. Because something was coming, something that would threaten everything. And when that day arrived, she looked at the latest reports from Project Eclipse. The newest ships were testing weapons that could tear apart the fabric of space itself, defensive systems that could shrug off the combined firepower of the entire Concordat fleet, all hidden, all waiting, all part of humanity's greatest deception. "How long?" Jackson asked, watching the Concordat representatives board their shuttle, no doubt to file reports about the charmingly primitive humans. "Not long now," Chen replied, her eyes on the distant stars where those anomalies grew stronger. "They'll learn soon enough why humanity chose to appear weak. And when they do," she gestured to the screens showing humanity's true fleet, "they'll understand that sometimes the most dangerous predator is the one that pretends to be prey." The shuttle departed, carrying the Concordat team and their assumptions about humanity's capabilities. They never noticed the quantum sensors tracking their every movement, never detected the dimensional pocket spaces hiding entire fleets, never suspected that the primitive humans were anything but what they appeared to be. And that was exactly how humanity wanted it. For now, the silent watchers, deep within Neptune's storms, where no Concordat sensor could penetrate, the HSV Shadowkeeper maintained its silent vigil. Commander Maya Rodriguez stood on the bridge, watching real-time data streams from thousands of cloaked probes scattered throughout Concordat space. The massive holographic display showed everything: fleet movements, defense preparations, and most importantly, the growing darkness at the galaxy's edge. "Another colony gone dark," her sensor officer reported, highlighting a distant point of light that had just winked out. "That's the third this month. The Concordat still hasn't noticed." Maya nodded grimly. The Concordat's proud sensor networks, which they believed to be the most advanced in known space, were blind to what was coming. But humanity's hidden watchers saw everything. "Update from Lunar Command," her communications officer announced. "Admiral Chen wants all Eclipse fleet units to maintain current alert status. No intervention yet." Maya understood the strategy, even if it frustrated her. For 50 years, humanity had played the part of the technological underdog, all while building the most sophisticated intelligence network the galaxy had ever seen. They watched as the Concordat dismissed their clumsy attempts at quantum communications, never realizing that humans had mastered technologies that made quantum comms look like smoke signals. In her private quarters later that shift, Maya reviewed the latest intelligence summaries. The Concordat's regional governor was due to visit Earth next week. Another patronizing inspection of humanity's progress. They would show him the same carefully crafted illusions, ships with obvious welding seams that actually concealed metamaterial armor, weapons that looked like simple mass drivers, but could tear holes in reality. A priority alert flashed across her screen. One of their deep space probes had captured something significant. Maya's breath caught as she studied the imagery. At the edge of Concordat space, where sensors had been going dark, something massive was moving. Something that didn't show up on any conventional detection systems. "Command, this is Shadowkeeper." She transmitted through channels so secure the Concordat didn't even know they could exist. "Priority Alpha transmission." Admiral Chen's hologram appeared in her quarters almost instantly. "Report, Commander." Maya shared the probe data. "They're not just ships, Admiral. I don't even know how to describe them. They're like holes in space itself. Our quantum sensors can barely track them." Chen studied the data, her expression grave. "How many?" "Thousands, maybe more. Whatever they are, they're consuming everything in their path. And the Concordat's defense grid can't see them at all." "Because they're looking for the wrong things," Chen said quietly. "They're so convinced of their technological superiority that they never considered threats might exist beyond their understanding." Maya watched the feed as another colony went dark. "We could warn them and reveal everything we've built, everything we've hidden." Chen shook her head. "Not yet. The timing has to be perfect. If we show our hand too soon, the Concordat might see us as a bigger threat than whatever's coming." Because that was the real challenge humanity had faced since first contact. They had discovered early on that their approach to technology, born from millennia of warfare and paranoia, had taken them down paths the Concordat had never imagined. While the Concordat built elegant ships powered by quantum drives, humanity had learned to fold space itself. While they crafted energy weapons of incredible power, Humans had developed ways to turn reality into a weapon. New contact, Maya's sensor officer reported. Big one, different from the others. The holographic display shifted, showing something that made Maya's skin crawl. It wasn't just a hole in space. It was like a tear in the universe itself, spreading like a cancer through the void. Time estimate, Chen asked. Maya ran the calculations. At current speed, they'll reach the first major Concordat world in 3 months. Earth in 6. Chen was quiet for a long moment. Continue monitoring. Maintain emission control. Let no one see what we really are. Not yet. After the Admiral's hologram faded, Maya stood at her observation window, watching Neptune's storms rage around her hidden ship. Somewhere out there, an enemy unlike anything the galaxy had seen was approaching. The Concordat, for all their supposed superiority, was blind to the danger. But humanity watched, hidden in dimensional pockets, cloaked in technologies no one believed they possessed. They watched and waited. Because sometimes, Maya reflected, the best advantage wasn't superior technology or overwhelming force. Sometimes, the best advantage was letting everyone think you had no advantages at all. In the depths of Neptune's storms, the Shadowkeeper continued its vigil, one of hundreds of hidden watchers preparing for the moment when humanity would finally show its true face to the galaxy. That moment was coming soon. Very soon. Breaking the masquerade. The emergency alert came during a routine Concordat inspection of Earth's primitive orbital defense grid. Ambassador Lin Wei was in the middle of apologizing for humanity's crude targeting systems when every screen in the command center suddenly went dark. My deepest apologies, she began, maintaining her carefully crafted persona of technological inadequacy. Our systems sometimes. The darkness was replaced by a feed she had never seen before. A Concordat heavy cruiser, one of their most advanced vessels, was being torn apart by something that looked like living shadow. The proud ship's quantum shields, which could supposedly withstand any known weapon, offered no more resistance than tissue paper. Vector Prime's mandibles clicked in alarm. That's impossible. The Hyperion is one of our strongest. Another screen lit up. Another ship destroyed. Then another. Emergency transmission from Concordat High Command, a human technician announced, his staged nervousness now replaced by crisp professionalism. All sectors are under attack by unknown forces. They're requesting any available ships for evacuation assistance. Lin felt the weight of Vector Prime's compound eyes on her. The facade was cracking, but they weren't ready to drop it entirely. Not yet. We will, of course, offer whatever humble assistance we can, she said, then activated her quantum implant, a technology the Concordat thought humans were decades from mastering. Admiral Chen, your authorization is needed. In her lunar command center, Chen watched the crisis unfold across 100 holographic displays. The enemy they had been watching for months had finally shown itself, and it was worse than even their most advanced sensors had predicted. These weren't just ships, they were tears in reality itself, consuming everything in their path. Execute Protocol Nightfall, she ordered. Limited reveal only. Show them what they expect to see, nothing more. Across the solar system, carefully positioned civilian vessels began powering up systems that shouldn't have existed. Clumsy-looking freighters revealed hidden weapons arrays. Scout ships shed their patchwork exteriors, exposing armor that could shrug off quantum lance strikes. But it was all carefully calculated. Each reveal was designed to surprise but not shock, to show advancement but not mastery. The true fleet remained hidden, waiting for the perfect moment. The Concordat representatives watched in stunned silence as Earth's primitive defense fleet coordinated a series of evacuations with precision that should have been impossible for their level of technology. Human ships arrived at besieged Concordat worlds, their supposedly crude hulls somehow resistant to weapons that were destroying more advanced vessels. How? Vector Prime demanded, his composure finally cracking. These ships, your technology. We had to keep some secrets, Lin replied, dropping the pretense of subservience but still maintaining a careful distance from the truth. For our protection. In the void between worlds, the shadow ships continued their advance. The Concordat's mighty fleets, which had kept the peace for 10,000 years, were being systematically destroyed. Their quantum weapons passed harmlessly through the enemy's impossible hulls. Their advanced shields might as well have been non-existent. "Status report," Chen demanded, watching the battle unfold. "Concordat forces are at 40% strength and falling," her tactical officer reported. "The enemy is advancing on all fronts. At current rates, they'll reach the core worlds in 72 hours. Chen nodded. Everything was proceeding according to projections. The Concordat was being humbled but not broken, shown enough of humanity's true capabilities to accept help, but not enough to trigger fear, because that was the delicate balance they had to maintain. The Concordat had to be desperate enough to accept humanity's assistance, but not so frightened of human capabilities that they might turn against Earth when the crisis was over. "New enemy contact." Maya's voice came through from the Shadow Keeper. "Bigger than anything we've seen. Some kind of command ship." Chen studied the sensor data. The new arrival was massive, a wound in spacetime that made their previous enemies look like minor tears. This was what they had been waiting for, the true threat revealing itself. "All Eclipse fleet units maintain position," she ordered. "Continue monitoring only." Because this was just the beginning. The limited reveal of human technology was a calculated move designed to prepare the Concordat for what was coming. Soon, very soon, they would show their true capabilities. But not yet. For now, they would continue the carefully orchestrated dance of revelation and concealment. Let the Concordat think they had discovered humanity's greatest secret. The real secret was still waiting in dimensional pockets throughout the solar system. A fleet unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen, powered by technologies that defied conventional understanding. And when the moment was right, when the enemy thought victory was assured, humanity would finally stop pretending to be weak. That moment was approaching faster than anyone expected. Titans unleashed. The massive shadow ship hung over New Alexandria, the Concordat's proudest colony world, like a tear in the fabric of reality. Below, evacuation ships struggled to escape as the enemy's smaller vessels methodically destroyed the planet's defensive grid. The Concordat's most advanced weapons dissipated harmlessly against the invaders' impossible hulls. In her command center, Admiral Chen watched the feed from 1,000 hidden sensors. The enemy's command ship was exactly where they needed it to be. Everything humanity had worked for, every deception, every carefully hidden advancement, had led to this moment. "All Eclipse fleet units, this is command." She broadcast through channels that didn't officially exist. "Execute Protocol Omega. Full reveal authorized." Throughout the solar system, space itself began to change. What looked like empty void shimmered and twisted as dimensional pockets opened. From Neptune's storms, from Saturn's rings, from hidden bases in asteroid fields and gas giant atmospheres, humanity's true fleet emerged. The ships were unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Their hulls were midnight black, absorbing light rather than reflecting it. They moved with impossible grace, their engines leaving trails of purple fire that seemed to bend reality around them. Each vessel was a masterpiece of military engineering, making even the proudest Concordat ships look like children's toys. On the bridge of the HSV Shadowkeeper, now revealed in its true form, Commander Maya Rodriguez watched her tactical display light up with hundreds of friendly signatures. Ships that had hidden for decades were finally showing themselves, taking up formation positions that had been planned and practiced in secret for years. By the first light, Vector Prime whispered, watching from Earth's orbital command center as humanity's real military power was revealed. "What are we seeing?" Ambassador Lin Wei, no longer playing the role of a submissive representative of a primitive species, stood straight and proud. "We're seeing why humanity chose to appear weak. We're seeing what we built while everyone thought we were struggling with basic quantum physics. The first wave of human ships engaged the enemy. Their weapons were beyond anything the Concordat had imagined possible. Beams of concentrated reality-warping energy cut through the shadow ship's supposedly impenetrable defenses. Quantum-guided projectiles accelerated to near-light speed, punched holes in vessels that had shrugged off the Concordat's strongest attacks. Multiple enemy capitals retreating, Maya reported, her voice tight with controlled excitement. They've never encountered resistance like this. They don't know how to respond. Chen nodded grimly. The shadow ships had evolved to counter the type of technology the Concordat used. Elegant, predictable, following established patterns of advancement. But humanity's approach to warfare, born from millennia of conflict and paranoia, had taken them down completely different paths. The massive command ship tried to bring its primary weapon to bear on the human fleet. The space-time distortion that had torn through Concordat ships like paper met something new. Defensive fields that didn't just resist the attack, but turned it back on itself. The shadow ship's own reality-warping energy began to tear it apart. How? Vector Prime demanded, his mandibles clicking rapidly in agitation. These technologies, they're centuries beyond what you showed us. No, Lin corrected him. They're centuries beyond what we let you see. Every failed test, every primitive design, every apparent technological limitation, it was all carefully crafted to hide our true capabilities. The battle continued to unfold across multiple star systems. Human ships moved with practiced precision, executing battle plans that had been refined over decades of secret preparation. The shadow ships, for the first time, found themselves facing an enemy that could not only resist their attacks, but actively counter them. Enemy fleet is in full retreat, Maya announced. Their command ship is. It's breaking apart from the inside. Whatever they used to tear holes in reality, our countermeasures are turning it against them. Chen watched as the massive shadow ship began to collapse in on itself, its impossible hull being consumed by its own weapons. All ships pressed the advantage. Don't let them regroup. Across New Alexandria's sky, people watched in awe as humanity's black ships drove back the terror that had seemed unstoppable. The vessels moved like predators, their weapons systematically destroying an enemy that had brushed aside the Concordat's best defenses. Why? Vector Prime asked quietly, watching another shadow ship dissolve under concentrated human fire. Why maintain such an elaborate deception? Lin's answer was simple, because the strong are feared and targeted. The weak are ignored. But the apparently weak who are secretly strong, they get to choose their moment. The battle raged on, but its outcome was no longer in doubt. Humanity's true fleet, hidden for so long, was revealing exactly why they had spent decades pretending to be technologically inferior. The shadow ships had never faced an enemy like this, one that had studied them in secret, developed specific countermeasures, and waited for the perfect moment to strike. As the enemy command ship finally imploded, taking a quarter of its fleet with it, Chen allowed herself a small smile. The galaxy was about to change. The careful deception that humanity had maintained for so long was over. Now everyone would know why humans had chosen to appear weak. And more importantly, they would understand just how dangerous that strategy had been. Legacy of deception. The Concordat's Grand Assembly Chamber had never been so quiet. Representatives from every major species sat in stunned silence as they watched the battle recordings. On the massive display screens, human ships systematically dismantled the shadow fleet that had nearly brought their civilization to its knees. Each engagement revealed new aspects of Earth's true technological capabilities, each one more astonishing than the last. Admiral Chen stood before them, no longer wearing the deliberately shabby uniform that had been part of humanity's deception. Her new attire was midnight black with silver trim, bearing insignia that none of the Concordat races had ever seen before. For 50 years, she began, humanity presented itself as technologically primitive. We showed you outdated ships, failed experiments, and clumsy attempts to replicate your achievements. You saw exactly what we wanted you to see. The recording showed human vessels emerging from dimensional pockets throughout their solar system. Ships that made the Concordat's proudest vessels look obsolete by comparison. Weapons that could tear apart the fabric of space itself. Defensive systems that turned enemy attacks back on themselves. Impossible, muttered a Zentri representative, their crystalline form clouded with disbelief. Your research facilities. We inspected them ourselves. You inspected what we wanted you to inspect, Chen corrected. Every failed test, every primitive design, every technological limitation. It was all carefully crafted. Meanwhile, our real research continued in facilities you never knew existed. Commander Maya Rodriguez, standing beside Chen, activated a new holographic display. It showed the true extent of human military infrastructure. Bases hidden in dimensional shadows, shipyards concealed within gas giant storms, research facilities that existed slightly out of phase with normal spacetime. While you watched us struggle with basic quantum physics, Maya explained, we were perfecting technologies that went far beyond conventional understanding. Every time you tried to help us develop energy weapons, we were actually studying your defensive systems, finding their weaknesses. The assembly erupted in overlapping questions and demands. Species that had once dismissed Earth as a backwater were now desperately seeking alliance terms. Worlds that had mockingly offered technological assistance were requesting human protection. Vector Prime, his mandibles arranged in what passed for a grimace, asked the question everyone was thinking. Why? Why maintain such an elaborate deception? Why not simply show your strength? Chen's answer was measured. Because humanity learned something from our own history. The strong are feared and eventually targeted. The weak are ignored or patronized. But the apparently weak who are secretly strong, they get to observe, to learn, and most importantly, to choose their moment. The display shifted to show the aftermath of the Shadow Fleet's defeat. The enemy's command ship twisted in on itself, consumed by its own reality-warping weapons turned against it by human countermeasures. The remaining shadow ships fled, their supposedly invincible technology proven vulnerable to approaches they had never anticipated. Your civilization evolved past warfare, Maya added. You forgot what it meant to face existential threats. But humanity, we never forgot. Every conflict, every war, every near-extinction event taught us something. While you were perfecting elegant solutions, we were exploring paths you never considered. A new hologram appeared, showing human ships coordinating with Concordat vessels. The combination of technologies, human ingenuity merged with Concordat elegance, was proving more effective than either approach alone. We didn't maintain this deception to lord it over you when the truth came out, Chen explained. We did it because we knew someday the galaxy would face a threat like the Shadow Fleet. We needed to be ready, not just to fight, but to help everyone survive. The assembly was silent as the implications sank in. Centuries of technological pride were being reevaluated in light of human innovation. The species they had dismissed as primitive had been watching, learning, and preparing for a threat none of them had seen coming. What happens now? Vector Prime asked quietly. Chen gestured, and the hologram shifted to show new ship designs. Human technology merged with Concordat principles. Now we work together. You have much to teach us about the elegant applications of technology, and we have much to teach you about thinking beyond conventional boundaries. As the assembly digested this, Maya's quantum implant buzzed with a priority alert. The Shadow Fleet hadn't been destroyed entirely, only driven back. They would return, possibly with new adaptations to counter human tactics. But that was exactly what humanity had been preparing for all along, because the greatest lesson they had learned from their history of warfare wasn't about technology or tactics. It was about adaptation, about never showing all your cards at once, about always having one more surprise ready. The galaxy was changing. The careful deception that humanity had maintained was over. But as Chen looked out at the assembly, she knew this wasn't the end of humanity's strategy. They had revealed much, but not everything. Some technologies remained hidden, some capabilities still secret. Because if humanity had learned anything from its long history of conflict, it was this: there was always another threat on the horizon. And when it came, they would be ready, just as they always had been.